The knock came at 9:47 p.m. And I remember the time exactly because I was staring at the microwave clock when I opened the door and found my father standing on my porch in his pajama shirt. No coat, though it was barely 40 degrees outside. "Dad?" I said. "What are you?" "Where's Marcus?" he asked, his voice too flat, too careful, the way people talk when they've rehearsed a sentence. So many times it stops sounding like their own voice. "Working late." "Dad, you're shaking. Come inside." He didn't move. He just stood there under the porch light, an envelope pressed against his chest like it might try to escape if he loosened his grip. "My name is Claire Whitfield. I'm 33 years old. And until that Tuesday night, I believed my life was, if not perfect, at least honest. I taught second grade. I'd been married to Marcus for 9 years. My best friend, Dana, had been my best friend since we were 19. Since the kind of college nights where you tell each other everything, where you think there's no version of the future that could ever put distance between you. Dana had a son, Eli, 7 years old, quiet, gap-toothed, obsessed with dinosaurs. I'd known his whole life. I'd been at the hospital the night he was born, holding Dana's hand while she cursed at the ceiling. I'd bought him his first pair of shoes. "Dad," I said again, stepping onto the porch in my socks, the cold biting through instantly. "You're scaring me. What's going on?" His eyes were wet. My father did not cry. Not at my mother's funeral. Not at my wedding, not ever. In 33 years. Had I seen my father's eyes do what they were doing right now? "I told her," he said, and his voice cracked clean in half. "I told her never to tell you. Not until—" He stopped. "Until what?" I asked. My heart had started doing something strange. Something fast and uneven, like it already knew before I did. He held the envelope out to me with both hands, the way you'd hand someone something that might shatter. "I didn't want it to be like this," he whispered. "I told her I'd take it to my grave if she wouldn't tell you herself. I never thought." His hands were shaking so badly the envelope trembled between us. "Claire, sweetheart, I need you to sit down before you open this." I didn't sit down. I opened it right there, standing barefoot on my own porch, the cold forgotten. My father crying silently behind me. And the first thing I saw was a photograph of Eli. Not as he was now. As a newborn. Lying in Marcus's arms. I didn't scream. I didn't drop the envelope. I just stood there in the cold with my father's breath fogging the air beside me, staring at a photograph of my husband, holding a newborn that should have been a stranger to him. "That's not possible," I said quietly. "That's Eli, Dana's son. Marcus has never even held him as a baby. I stopped. Would I have known? Eli was born the same spring Marcus and I had been going through our worst year. The year we'd separated for 4 months before finding our way back. The year I never asked too many questions about, because I was just grateful we'd survived it. "Claire." My father's voice was barely holding together. "There's more in there. I need you to keep looking before you say anything else." My hands didn't feel like my own hands anymore. I pulled out a folded paper behind the photograph. A hospital discharge form. Dana's name at the top and beneath it, listed plainly in a box I must have read 4 times before it made sense. The father's name. Marcus Whitfield. 7 years, I said. The words came out strange, disconnected, like someone else was speaking them. 7 years, Dad. You knew for 7 years? I didn't know at first. He reached for my arm and I flinched back before I could stop myself. And something in his face broke even further at that. Dana came to me 18 months ago. She was going to tell you herself. I begged her not to. Not because I wanted to protect Marcus. Claire, God, no. I wanted to protect you. while we figured out the right way, the right time. There is no right time to find out my husband has a son with my best friend. My voice had gone very still, very quiet. The kind of quiet I didn't recognize in myself. There's no right time for that, Dad. I know. He was openly crying now. An old man crying on my porch at 10 o'clock at night. I told her I'd carry it myself if she couldn't do it. I told her, never, unless something happened. Unless it became dangerous to keep it from you any longer. Something cold moved through me, colder than the night air. Dangerous how? My father's face changed. Just slightly. Just enough that I noticed. Dad. Dangerous how? He looked down at the envelope still trembling in my hands. And when he finally answered, his voice dropped to something just above a whisper. Because Dana called me 3 hours ago, Claire. From the hospital. She said if anything happens to her tonight, someone needs to tell you the whole truth. Not just about Eli. I felt the porch tilt beneath me. There's a second envelope, he said. And I think you need to sit down before I give it to you. I sat down. Right there on the cold porch steps, my socks soaking through. My father lowering himself beside. Me with the careful stiffness of a man whose knees had never really recovered from his 60s. Is Dana okay? I asked. It was strange. Even then, even holding proof of the worst betrayal of my life. Some old, stubborn part of me still cared about her. 9 years of friendship doesn't switch off like a light. She's stable, my father said. Car accident. Frightened enough to finally say everything out loud. He reached into his coat and produced the second envelope. Smaller. What's in it? A letter. She wrote it 18 months ago. When she first told me about Eli. She made me promise to give it to you only. If she couldn't tell you herself. His hands trembled as he passed it to me. I opened it under the porch light. My father's shadow falling long and thin across the paper. Asterisk Claire. If you're reading this, I ran out of time to be brave. I need you to know it happened once one night. The worst night of my life and yours. When you and Marcus were separated, and I told myself it didn't count because you two were already broken. I told myself so many lies to survive what I did. But I need you to know something else. Something your father doesn't know. Something I never told him because I was too afraid of what it meant. Asterisk. The paragraph ended there. The rest of the page had been torn away. Dad. My voice came out sharp, urgent. The letter's incomplete. Where's the rest of it? My father's face went pale in the porch light. What do you mean incomplete? Someone opened it. I held the torn edge up to him, my fingers unsteady. Someone read this and tore the rest away on purpose. My father took the paper from me, studying the ragged edge like it might explain itself. Toward the street. I turned. Marcus's car was pulling into the driveway. Early. Hours earlier than he ever came home from working late. He stepped out, saw the envelope in my hand, saw my father's tear-streaked face, and for just 1 second, before he could rearrange his expression into something safer, I saw it. Not confusion. Not shock. Relief. Like a man who had been waiting 7 years for this exact night to finally arrive. Marcus didn't run. He didn't stumble through excuses, the way I'd always imagined a guilty man would. He walked toward the porch steps slowly, almost calmly, like a man finally setting down something heavy he'd carried too long. Claire, he said, I can explain. You can explain a son you never told me about. My voice didn't shake. I was surprised by that. 7 years, Marcus. 7 years of birthday parties and Sunday dinners and me buying that little boy Christmas presents. And you just let me. It's not what you think. He climbed the last step and I saw, up close, that his hands were trembling too. But not the way my father's had. Something tighter. something more controlled. I didn't know about Eli until 14 months ago. My father made a small sound beside me, something between disbelief and confusion. "You're lying," I said. "I'm not." Marcus crouched in front of me, and I let him, too stunned to pull away. "Dana came to me 14 months ago. Not you, me. She told me the truth then, the same night she told your father. She said she needed to know if I wanted to be part of his life before. She found the courage to tell you everything." He swallowed hard. "I've been seeing him, Claire, secretly, every other Saturday for 14 months. I told myself I'd find the right way to bring it to you. I kept waiting for a moment that felt survivable. There was no survivable moment for this." My eyes dropped to the torn letter still in my father's hand. "Then who tore this? Who read what Dana wrote and ripped away the rest?" Marcus went very still. "Marcus." My father's voice had turned hard now, harder than I'd ever heard it. "Who tore that letter?" For the first time all night, Marcus looked away from both of us, toward the dark street, toward Dana's silent house 4 blocks over, and when he finally spoke, his voice had dropped to something almost too quiet to hear. "Because the rest of that letter isn't about the affair," he said. "It's about what happened after. Something Dana found out only 2 months ago. Something she was going to tell you herself. Tonight, before the accident happened." "Tell me what?" I stood up so fast my father had to catch my arm to steady me. Marcus finally looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something in his face I had never once seen in 9 years of marriage. "Fear. Eli isn't mine, Claire," he said. "He never was. And Dana has known that for exactly 2 months." Nobody spoke. The porch light buzzed above us, and somewhere down the street a dog barked twice and went quiet. "Say that again," I whispered. "The Dana test." Marcus's voice was hollow. "Dana insisted on it 2 months ago for a school medical form. She never told me the results until last week. Eli isn't mine, Claire. He never was. She lied to both of us." "Why would she lie about something like that?" my father asked, though I could already feel the answer settling over me like cold water. "Because the real father was married," Marcus said quietly. "Someone with a family. Someone who wanted nothing to do with a child." Dana panicked. "I was safe. I was already close to her. She told me last week she thought if she said it was me, at least Eli would grow up with someone decent nearby, even from a distance. She never meant for it to last 7 years. She never meant for any of it." I looked down at the torn letters still in my father's hand, and suddenly the missing half made a terrible kind of sense. Dana hadn't been protecting a secret about betrayal. She'd been trying, in her last conscious hour before surgery, to finally undo a lie that had cost me 9 years of trust, cost a little boy a truth he deserved, cost my father 18 months of sleepless guilt. I stood on my porch, the cold biting through my socks, and felt something inside me that I hadn't expected. Not rage, not grief, but a strange, clean clarity, the same kind you feel when a fever finally breaks. "Claire," Marcus said, reaching for my hand. "This changes everything." "We can." "It doesn't change anything," I said, and I meant it. "You kept a secret from me for 14 months, Marcus. A child you believed was yours, and you chose silence over me. Over and over, every single Saturday. That's not a lie Dana told. That's a choice you made." I walked past him into the house. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't take my coat, my phone charger, my toothbrush. I took my car keys off the hook by the door, and I walked out into the night past both of them. Past 9 years of a life I no longer recognized as mine. My father called after me once. I didn't stop. Somewhere behind me, I heard Marcus say my name like a question he already knew the answer to. I didn't need to pack a bag to leave. I'd already left the moment I understood. I'd spent 9 years apologizing for a life everyone but me had been allowed to see clearly.